Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Inside the Birds pregame show. I'm Geoff Mosher alongside Adam Caplan, and with us, as always, to provide the most thorough preview of an Eagles game is Greg Cosell. He's the star of Inside the Tape with Greg Cosell on Inside the Birds, and we are going to preview what I think is the best matchup of the weekend. It's a very interesting slate of NFL games. The Monday night game is fantastic, but for Sunday games, Eagles, Rams is where it's at, and it will be at the Link. It is a rematch for the Eagles and Rams because they played both in the regular season last year and in the playoffs, and both were memorable games for different reasons. And it is also a matchup, fellas, of two 2-0 teams. The Rams off to a good start with a win over the Texans, 14-9 in the opener, and then they went and beat the Tennessee Titans last week, 33-19. And as we all know, the Eagles are also 2-0 with wins over the Cowboys 24-20 and the Chiefs 20-17. So this is a fantastic game. And Adam, the one thing that I just in doing the NFL preview show that I do on our platform, there are so many freaking injuries already by week 3. I mean, quarterbacks, there's like 5 quarterbacks who are out. There's linemen who are out. These teams, at least we'll start with the Eagles, much healthier, and obviously Dallas Goedert looks like he's definitely going to play, and that's great for the Eagles.
Yeah, he was cleared Friday. That is huge because he didn't do anything last week other than rehab that knee. The fact that he was back now, he took the starters reps Friday, so that's when you knew it, and they didn't give him a game status designation, so that means he's playing unless something happened in pregame. So getting him back, we talked about the issue at blocking with Calcaterra, and Latu only played 6 snaps, pretty much as Sirianni talked about as a fullback, so they don't have to worry about that now. It's a big deal, man. With this quick front, and we'll get into it with Greg about their defensive front, but this is a big deal, no question.
Yeah, and Greg, you wonder what I wonder about Goddard coming back. Well, 2 things. One, that we'll get into a little later, just he's going to help the passing offense and just the overall offense. But in his absence, I'm curious to see whose role does Kylan Granson not play nearly as much, or does Cam Latu get no role, or do you start to see Cam Latu as a fullback get a little bit more involved in the offense?
I mean, that's speculation. I think the one thing we know for sure is that Dallas Goedert can block defensive ends in the run game. And I think that's been a little bit of an issue through the first 2 games. You know, I remember talking to Ross Tucker this week, a matter of fact, and it wasn't about Goddard. It was another tight end, but I can't remember who it was. And Ross was saying that people just don't realize how important a tight end that can block an edge player, whether it's a D end in the case of the Rams or an outside linebacker on a 5-2 front, is how important that is to a run game. If he can block them one-on-one, that gives you so many more things you can do in your run game, as far as, working up to the next level and getting second-level players blocked, even getting third-level players blocked. So to me, yes, I mean, obviously, based on the first 2 games, we don't really, or I don't anyway, I'm just being honest, I don't have a great sense of what the Eagles' pass game will look like this week. But the run game, for sure, we know is a foundation, and he changes the run game meaningfully.
Yeah, absolutely. Greg, do you know when you realize the most how well you have it when you have a tight end who can block an edge defender is when he's out. And you
appreciate it more.
Yeah,
true.
And that started pretty early last week. First game.
I mean, and it's no knock on Calcaterra. Calcaterra grew up in the game as a receiver,
right?
And and that's what he was at Oklahoma. That's what he was when he came back and played at SMU. I'm sure when the Eagles drafted him, that's what they saw him as. But things change, and you have to try to do what you're asked to do. But that's just not his forte.
All right. As for other Eagles injuries, Will Shipley remains out with the oblique or broken rib, whatever you want to call it. We will see if that leads to anything more for now that this will be his 2nd game for Tank Bigsby. We'll see. And then questionable Tanner McKee with the right thumb as he continues to come back from that fracture. That's the best designation that he's at. Questionable is good, and we'll see if he is the number 2 quarterback for the game. Other than that, very healthy. They had a little scare, I guess, with Byron Young throughout the week, a lacerated forehead. So you can put that on the new injury list designations that I had never seen before. Thankfully, he's okay. And then everything else pretty good to go, Adam. This is a good, healthy team right now.
Yeah, Jalen Carter. Remember, Jeff, when Carter was drafted, we talked about the shoulder issues he had at Georgia, and it's something to keep an eye on. The forehead laceration, typically, just from looking into these, I've actually seen this before, but it'll say laceration. They usually don't say where it is. Typically, it comes when someone grabs your face mask and it rips, and you have like a big cut. Like that could happen, but again, he's been cleared. Shipley, here's the positive thing, though. He did work this week. That's good. That's really a good sign. He potentially could be back the next week. And we'll talk about if he gets cleared for the pregame next week. Okay, how are they going to work all these backs in? That's the challenge.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the Rams and their injury situation. Their offensive line has been a little bit beat up already earlier in the year. Now, I know Steve Avila is their left guard, and he is it doubtful, Adam?
Yeah, he didn't do anything this week. He's not expected to play. Braden Fisk did get to work on Friday. He's more of a see what happens to warm-ups guy. These obliques, man. You know, Jeff, because you're a big baseball guy, if you're a pitcher has an oblique, you're out for 2 months or 6 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
And Fisk got hurt. And give the guy credit. He tried to play through it, but he was limited to 13 snaps or something last week. He got hurt in pregame warm-ups. And Colby Parkinson, who would be their Y tight end, he's one of the highest paid backup tight ends in the NFL. He's paid a lot to block. And he missed last week's game with a shoulder issue. He did get some work in. It's just a matter of can he take contact or not.
Right. So it sounds like they're pretty good. We'll see if Fisk makes it out onto the field, and Avila is their left guard. So if he's out, Greg, is it Adam? Is it the Dedich guy who fills in at left guard?
Yes.
Yeah, he started last week. Greg, do you remember him at all from college?
No, I do not. I don't think I did him, and I didn't study him last week, so I can't. I don't really have any comment on him.
Jeff, real quick, they've done a phenomenal job of putting these guys in there. Not always offense at whatever position. It's the kid Bo Limmer last season, right?
Yeah, who was good last season, by the way.
Came out of nowhere. Alaric Jackson, who was an undrafted free agent, just got paid big time, Jeff. So they do a great job here of developing guys, and the other Byron Young, who we'll talk about later.
Yeah, they draft and develop as well as any team in the NFL. And obviously, this guy's not injured, but there was a scare for Matthew Stafford earlier in training camp because of his back injury that just wasn't seemingly cooperating. But after 2 weeks, Greg, I'm sure you'll tell us this. He looks pretty good, doesn't he? He looks like
he looks pretty good.
Yeah.
He's it's pretty remarkable the way the guy can keep playing at his age. I mean, he's still a really, really good player. Yeah. And now he's got Devontae Adams on his side, so makes a big difference. And this is, again, I think this is a really awesome matchup. 2-2-0 teams, two powerhouses, two teams that know each other. And we will see from the Eagles side as we go through it if history will repeat for the Eagles. Before we get into Eagles taking we'll go with Eagles offense first against the Rams defense. Let me pause real quick for a word from our great sponsors.
Hey, you know that one guy in the group chat who hit a 5-leg parlay week 1 and he wouldn't shut up about it for the rest of the season? Sounds like Caplan, right? Yeah, it could be him. It could be you, and we would all want to be you. MyBookie makes it stupid easy to get in on the action, whether it's college ball, NFL, super contest, and survivor pools, all the spreads, player props, and in-game lines that you could want all under one roof. What more could you want than that? If you're new to MyBookie, use our code, THEBIRDS, THEBIRDS, the birds. Use the code, and any bet you choose up to $500 is fully covered. Make your play, and if it doesn't hit, you get it right back when you opt in using your bet back bonus token. There is no better time to jump in right now. No better place to play. Football is back. Let's make some money with MyBookie.
Okay, so let's take a look, because so many people want to talk about the Eagles offense. And even though we went through it on tape and we discussed it, I think that there is an expectation, and I understand this, that the Eagles will be able to control. They will get their mojo back on the ground because of what Saquon Barkley did to the Rams last year. So I'll start with you, Adam, and I'll get Greg from a tape breakdown standpoint. Mm-hmm. But there's kind of been this sentiment: the Eagles are going to come out throwing, the Eagles are going to come out, and they just haven't been able to do it. Do you think this is a come out running because they've done it really well in the past?
They could do either, but to me, it's not so much how much they throw; it's how they do it, or how many times. It's how they do it. I expect them to be aggressive. I mean, basically, you look at this cornerback group, and I can't wait to get Greg's breakdown of Kobe Durant and the other guys who are going to play. Ahkello Witherspoon's been around a long time. If I'm not mistaken, he started in the Super Bowl for the Niners many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He's a journeyman now. He's 30. He's not playing. He broke his collarbone. But they just don't have depth at corner. Like, this is when you throw it, Jeff, to move this along, they should be more successful. I don't see how they're not.
That is true. They should be more successful. We'll see. We'll talk about what the Rams will do defensively that might differ. But staying on the Barkley thing, Greg, a lot is made about the Rams being light front. They have a light front. They don't have a lot of big, heavy run stuffing guys. And, just to reiterate the stats last year, Saquon Barkley, 26 carries for 255 yards and 2 touchdowns in week 11. And then in the playoffs, 26 more carries for 205 yards and 2 more touchdowns. Just unbelievable how he tore up the Rams last year.
Yeah, and he had the big runs. I mean, that's the key, which we've talked about. That's what creates the yards. And obviously they count. But, they could not stop the run game, and that's got to be number one. With Fisk being out, although it's funny you say that, the player who probably play the majority of the snaps in his place, if he can't play meaningful snaps, maybe he's only playing in passing situation. We don't know this. But Poona Ford is probably a better run defender than Fisk. And he'll get the majority of the snaps, certainly in your base defense. And he's actually a good run defender. So we'll see. But I think every team, we know every team goes in playing the Eagles with the idea that it all starts with the run game. And you have to, that's where it begins.
Do you believe that there's something to the Rams being light up front and that is their issue with Barkley? Okay.
Sure. I mean, you're dealing with an offensive line that is, obviously Steen is there in place of Becton. So I don't know if they're still the heaviest in the league, 5 across. They're certainly going to be close to that. It's a very big, strong offensive line. And Mailata and Dickerson are really strong run blockers. They move people. So yes, there is a factor there. I mean, players like Fisk, while he's strong for his size, no question, he's not a weak player, but he's not 320 pounds. So yes, that does mean something.
And if I recall correctly, fellas, setting the edge was a difficult issue for them last year. Even their corners had a tough time. Their linebackers coming down and scraping. Barkley was able to break a few by getting to the outside and then just shifting into another level. And I forgot to mention, because he's already out for the year, so he's not on the injury report, they lost their cornerback, Ahkello Witherspoon.
2 months probably.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was a year. Okay,
with a broken collarbone. Yeah. Collarbone.
Yeah, so that's kind of a loss for them too.
That's got to be number one. We'll see how they choose to go about doing it tactically. Their linebackers are Omar Spates and Landman. Net Landman they brought in from, I believe, Atlanta.
Yeah. Yep.
He's a pretty good player, and he's played well through 2 games. So it's a little bit different group. Spates played a lot toward the end of last year. He became a starter, and he's a pretty solid player. He's not overly big either, by the way. So, it is a lighter unit. It's a fast unit, but it's a lighter unit. So, they're going to – that's why it'll be interesting from a tactical perspective, because they're not just going to line up and play. I mean, obviously, when you're a defensive line, there are times you've just got to win one-on-one matchups, obviously. But they're not just going to line up and say, okay, we're going to win one-on-one matchups all game long. They're not just going to play that way.
So I guess what I would like to know is, Greg, how do you see what Chris Shula does defensively and that compare to, say, what, Steve Spags will do, or what, in the first week, the Cowboys, why am I forgetting the Cowboys coordinator? Who's the Cowboys defensive coordinator? Adam used to coach.
Matt Eberflus now.
Thank you, Eberflus. Yeah, where does Shula fall between those guys as far as do you zone and cover or rush and blitz? What do you see on that?
They're not a heavy blitz team because they rush the quarterback really well with their down 4. But of course, that counts Fisk. Fisk, this is a team that if if they get the offense in pure pass situations, they are a heavy stunt team, and they're really, really good at it. But Fisk is a significant part of that because he's a very athletic guy with some bend and some flexibility, and he's a very explosive athlete. So if he's not there, I don't know if Ford stays in. It might be Murchison, who's been around the league a little bit, who played meaningful snaps last week. So now we don't know the answer to this, guys. I wish I did. But if it's not Fisk, when they're in their pure pass situation, I don't know if you'll see as much of the loaded fronts and the stunting that we're used to seeing. You just don't know the answer to that. They have Lake, who's a really, really good player,
Cornell's son. Yeah.
Yeah. Lake. In some ways, he's similar to a player they just played against last week in Shamari Connor, a guy that is sort of a nickel, but he can play in the box as well. He can play on the back end. He can play anywhere, and he's a really, really good football player. And he gets involved. There's a physical element to him, so he does get involved in the run game. Quentin Lake's a really, really good player. Cameron Kitchens is the second-year safety from the University of Miami, and he's another physical guy. So it'll be interesting if the Eagles feel that they can get over the top somewhere along the line in this game, because Kitchens he's really a downhill thumper. That's the way he would like to play. So I think there'll be opportunities in the pass game. The question is, what's it going to look like? I don't feel real comfortable knowing what their pass game is going to look like.
Yeah.
I agree with Greg, though. This is a situation, if they pass it, if they decide they're going to do, you never really truly know, but if they do, they got to be more successful. We'll get to the cornerback group. And Cam Curl was the guy, Greg, that you loved. He's
a good player, too. The
How do they deploy all three?
At the corner position, not at the safety position. I think they have three good players in Lake, who's kind of a hybrid nickel safety. Box, he does everything. I think Curl's a good player, and Kitchens is good for, he's a good player too. The question is at the corner position.
And let's go there.
Yeah. So with Witherspoon out, Adam, who is their first man up?
Well, that's going to be the $5 question, because they're kind of running out of players. So Kobe Durant's going to be one of them. Darius Williams, who won't go away, he's still playing. He was an original Ram that signed for big money with Baltimore and Jacksonville, but he's back.
Emmanuel Forbes.
Yeah, that's the starter. That's what we're going to get to, because we know what A.J. Brown's done against him. It's those three, Jeff. That's pretty much all that they have left.
That's who they have.
Yeah. So that's why I think advantage Eagles here, Jeff. Again, they don't have to throw it 40 times, but when they do it, they've got to be more successful.
Greg, has Forbes played a whole lot this year? Have you?
Yeah. He starts. He plays 35, 40 snaps a game. Absolutely. Right. It's funny, Jeff. The first game I watched the Saints the Rams week 1. I'm looking and I'm going, who's that guy? Right away. Because normally I notice the guys as I'm watching. I don't necessarily just look at the play-by-play. I just start watching, and I can see the way our system's set up. It lists all the players playing on each play, and I'm like, Forbes. Oh, it's Emmanuel Forbes.
Where'd he come from?
Yeah. So he's been playing meaningful snaps here. He plays 35, 40 snaps a game.
Yeah. So the fact that he made the team, because he was released by Washington. Didn't he go somewhere in between, Adam, or did he go straight to the Rams?
He was claimed off waivers, but I'll double check that one.
Well, either way, this is a guy who could not hold on to his job after 2 years in Washington being a first-round pick. So he made the Rams. They must have seen something. I know that they're not overly deep at corner, but very few teams are.
He's starting. He started week 1, so he's one of their starting corners.
He is. Yeah. So, because, last week, this is the game in which Witherspoon got hurt. He only played 16 snaps, but Forbes and Witherspoon started on the outside for the Rams. And then Durant, obviously, he was part of that rotation even before Witherspoon got hurt. But then when Witherspoon got hurt, Williams played significant snaps. But it's a rotation. They'll play Williams, Durant, and Forbes. They'll all get snaps.
Question on Forbes. Greg, I just want to ask you about Forbes. Because everybody knows, if you follow the score, he's very thin.
I haven't noticed him in a negative way through 2 games. Where you go, oh my God,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't noticed.
No, but the body, does he still look really thin? Because that was a
he's
big
thin.
problem.
He might have gained a few pounds, but he's thin. The
Okay.
other guy who should be mentioned on this Rams defense, he's their dime player, and that's McCullough. And he's also a really good player, but he plays in dime. So he's not going to play. Jalen McCullough is not going to play every snap, but he's a really good player. They're a team that plays normally a very high percentage of dime, although they did not last week, if memory serves me. Yeah, they did. They played 24 snaps in dime last week. So they normally play depending on the opponent. Now we'll see what the Eagles do as far as their personnel. But normally when teams do play a lot of 11, the Rams are a dime team. They'll play 25 to 30% dime because McCullough's a really good player. Another guy that can line up in multiple spots.
But he's a safety by trade, is he not?
Yes.
Okay, got you.
Well, this will be a game where the phrase, past performance is not necessarily an indicator of future success. I mean, you have Barkley, who tore up the Rams last year. You have A.J. Brown, who tore up Emmanuel Forbes a couple of times back when he was with Washington. I know that's sort of the big storyline is, can these guys capitalize on the matchups that they have won in the past? What I wonder also, Greg, I know Jared Verse, he's got off to a good start. He's got 3 quarterback hits, and I think Byron Young has 3 sacks already. To me, it's, do these guys come out of the gate? They're going to be fired up. This is going to be an emotional game. We always talk about this. Rushing Jalen Hurts isn't as maybe big as how you rush Jalen Hurts. If you get inside and leave an outside alley, you're toast. If you can stunt or you rush wide and keep him in the pocket and make him make a throw or push the lineman back into him, is when you succeed. And sometimes it feels like teams forget that in the first quarter and then they make the adjustment, sort of like the Cowboys in week 1. I'm very curious to see how they decide to come after and pressure Jalen Hurts.
Well, just looking back, unrelated to that, but looking back at that game in the playoff game, okay? One of the things, and we talked about this, that the Eagles haven't done much of this through 2 games, but they used a ton of no huddle in that playoff game. And it's a great move against a Rams defensive front because they really don't like to take Verse, Turner, and Young off the field. Now, we don't know about Fisk, so we'll leave that alone for the moment. But, they really don't like to take those guys off the field. So if you go no huddle and you start to wear them out a little bit, and particularly if you can have some success running the ball, do we think there's going to be a 60-yard run and a 70-yard run? The percentage of that is not likely. Of course, it could happen, but it's not likely. I think maybe is this the week you see no huddle, which was very effective in that playoff game.
Mm-hmm. And on that note, getting Dallas Goedert back, guys, I think will be good for, we just talked about how it'll be good for the run game, could be good for the pass game. He's one of those guys that, especially if they're playing too deep, which the Eagles have seen a lot, especially on first and second down, who can make some space in zones. And Greg, I also wonder, are the Eagles not running RPOs as much lately? Has that not been a big part of their?
I don't recall seeing them as much. I mean, I'm not charting every one, but I don't recall it. So I mean, for whatever reason, the Eagles' offense, particularly the pass game element, I'm just, I'm like we spoke about earlier in the week when we evaluated just the Eagles game. I'm not sure what to make of their pass game right now.
Jeff, one thing on Goddard, though, and Hurts together, I know it wasn't for a lot of yards, but he caught 7 passes week 1. Mm-hmm. Their chemistry, for the first time I've watched them together in training camp, was phenomenal. And I know Jalen gets criticized for not throwing over the middle, but I could tell you I saw plenty of throws inside the numbers, not like right in the middle, but some inside the numbers in training camp. So I'm really interested. I know it's only been 2 games. Goddard didn't play in the second one. Let's see getting him back. You're on the right path, Goddard. He could help them tremendously in this game, in the pass and the run game.
Led them in catches and yards in the playoffs. People forget that,
Oh yeah.
And I think besides Barkley, the other thing to remember is Hurts in that playoff game. He had a 44-yard touchdown run.
Right.
And that that ended the first possession. And I remember the play. I can see it in my mind. Mailata pulled. He was the rapper, and he had no one to block.
Right.
So I mean, it was too easy. So not only did Barkley have a big game, but the Hurts run game factor. We keep talking about that. It's so big. It's so big.
Absolutely. All right. So that is a look at the Eagles offense against the Rams defense. let's go talk about the Rams offense against this Eagles defense. We'll pause real quick for a word from our sponsors. Sports are all about competition. Every snap, every possession, every clutch moment matters. That same energy is what 1v1 Me brings to video games. Every single day, you can watch and stake on matchups in Madden, NBA 2K, FC, and Call of Duty Search and Destroy. All the games are streamed live. Every match has refs, and payouts are instant. And these aren't just random online lobbies. These are the best players in the scene, pros, streamers, and rivals. With season playoffs and the championship game on the line, every game matters. Over $100 million has already been paid out on the app, and the community is growing fast. If you're a sports fan, a gamer, or just someone who loves having a little extra on the line, 1v1 Me is where you need to be. It's not just about winning, it's about the bragging rights too. Every match has a chat going crazy, and you can back your picks in real time. Download today and use code BIRDS. Your first stake on the app is risk-free. That's code BIRDS for a risk-free first stake. Hey, fall is planting season. Did you know that many plants and trees actually do better when planted this time of the year? But you got to know where to start, and that's why I love fastgrowingtrees.com. Doesn't matter if you live in the sunny south or if the air's getting a little chilly where you are, the plant experts can help you find the perfect fit for your space. They've got everything your yard needs: fruit trees, privacy trees, shrubs, flowering trees, so much more. And Fast Growing Trees makes it so easy for you to have your dream yard because you can order online and get your plants delivered directly to your door. If you're like me, you're tired of spending way too much money on landscaping. And if you walk into one of those nurseries and you look at all the stuff they have, you have no idea where to begin. That's why you need fastgrowingtrees.com. Doesn't matter about the size of your yard. They got over 6,000 plants to fit any space, and a 14-point quality checklist ensures you will get the best quality plants possible. This fall, they have the best deals for your yard, up to half off on select plants and other deals. And listeners to our show get 15% off their first purchase when using the code BIRDS at checkout. 15% off at fastgrowingtrees.com using the code BIRDS at checkout. Now's the perfect time to plant. Use BIRDS to save today. The offer is valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions may apply. Check out the link below or in the show notes and support the show. All right, this Eagles defense, they have been really impressive through the first 2 weeks. But let's really examine the matchup here because the Rams have two very good wide receivers. Everybody know this, and Puka Nacua, and of course, Devontae Adams. And Greg, I sort of feel like this is more like the week one preview where you have George Pickens, an X, a natural X like Devontae Adams is, and then a move Z in Lamb, who gave a lot of problems for Adoree, and you're probably going to see similar matchups with Puka Nacua, who is also a guy who lines up everywhere, moves around, reduce splits, and I have to think that there's going to be a concerted effort to get him on Adoree Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, Adams does not move anywhere near as much as Nacua, and this is a heavy pre-snap motion team. But look, Vic's seen this. Keep one thing in mind. If you go back to the playoff game last year, I mean, that was a very intriguing game. It was in some ways more like the game they just played against the Chiefs. I mean, they played a ton of cover one. That was the most played coverage versus the Rams in that playoff game. Now, obviously, there were significant snaps of zone as well, but they played far more single high than two high against the Rams. They started to blitz a lot as the game progressed. I remember, I can see it in my mind that they in the fourth quarter, they were coming. And they were man blitzes with cover one behind it. So again, you never know with Vic. To try to predict what he's going to do is a waste of time. But
well, that's make a
point that everybody who just assumes, four-man rush, quarter structure. That's not what he did against the Rams in the playoff game.
Yeah.
So because he did that in the playoff game, who knows? Maybe this game is a four-man rush and a quarter structure.
And he blitzed 11 times last week. Who thought that? I didn't see that coming.
But you're playing against a Rams team that's among the highest percentage pre-snap movement team in the league. Their ground game is important to them, but it's more sustaining than explosive. But, now you have Adams, who is just a veteran who knows how to work against zone and find open voids and soft spots in zones. And you've got Nacua, who is as good a run after catch receiver as there is in the league with his size, competitiveness, physicality. And he's the movement guy. Mm-hmm. So it'll be really interesting. I don't think the Eagles, this is just a guess. I don't know if the Eagles will match up Mitchell on Adams. Okay. Last week, and I think we mentioned that earlier in the week, the Titans matched up Snead on Adams. I said Williams, pardon me, Adams. They matched up Za'Darius Sneed on Adams. And I don't know if the Eagles will do that with Mitchell. Maybe they'll just play sides and live with the fact that there's a lot of motion. And, if Adams is on Jackson, you got look. If he's your starting corner, you got to live with it. I mean, you can't expect that the ball's never going to be thrown to Jackson. I
do feel like with Vic, we do typically see more zone. You bring up a great point on the Rams, but against teams that move as much as they with pre-snap motion, isn't it easier to kind of sit in your zone and let guys, work off of each other instead of trying to follow everybody around?
Right. You don't want to do that. That's the thing. That's why teams usually don't match up to motion guys, because they move, and then that affects the rest of your. People just assume, well, why don't you just if you put a guy on him, then you have to put people on other people too. Right. So it's not just one thing.
Yeah. Yep. Hey, Adam. Greg makes a great point. I would not be surprised if the conversation between Les Snead and McVay after that Eagles loss and going into the offseason was, we really need a guy opposite Nacua who can beat man. If teams want to play single coverage,
right,
one high and throw blitzes at us, we can't get by with Cooper Kupp anymore and Nacua because those guys are zone. We need a man beater, someone who can just route somebody up.
It's funny you say that. So just to jump in, that's what happened against the Titans last week in a very close game, by the way. That was at the end of the third quarter, was a super close game. And then Adams ran some great routes against Snead later in the game and beat him. And Snead is a really good corner. So, look, we know McVay is really good at scheme design. The way they use motion, the way they expand zone coverage to create voids. That's what they do exceptionally well. But at some point, you want to be able to win versus man coverage. And as good as Nacua is, and he's really good, he's not really a true X kind of guy.
No, that's why they move him. That's why they reduce him.
Yeah, they don't really use him that way because that's not who he is. It's funny. We've talked about this. It's just a general statement. People think that players who are really good in the NFL means that they have no weaknesses. They're just great. So if you say that a guy is really good at something, but maybe not so great at another, people think, well, you don't know what you're talking about. That's not true. You talk to coaches, as you guys do, every player has something they're not great at, even the great players. Mm-hmm. And Nacua is a great player. For what he does, he may do as well or better than anybody in the league, but he's not a true win on the outside boundary X receiver. That, by the way, they told you that. That's why they signed Adams.
No, that's why they reduced him. You don't have
to guess that. They signed Adams.
Jeff and I have talked about Nacua being a reduced player because I know from going to their training camp, there's a reason why you'll see him kind of like out here, and then all of a sudden he creeps back inside. And we talked to D. Flippo about that, about why you reduce players. It helps them get open.
Yeah. Right.
Because you don't think they could win as a true X or an outside receiver.
Right.
Yeah, it's just it's great coaching. And look, I would also argue this. I don't think Nacua would be half the player he was with other teams. I don't think they would know how to use him.
Well, we don't. I understand.
I know hypothetical, but
the point being is he's used exactly the way to maximize what he is.
100%.
Yes, we don't know if other teams would do that or not. But
I don't know if they would know it, but
that's what
it's like with Cooper Kupp.
Yeah,
Greg, I saw Cooper Kupp at the Senior Bowl in 2017. I was like, wow, this guy's a pretty good player.
Right.
And he was phenomenal in the beginning, but when I went out because I didn't understand what they were doing, reducing him like that, they did it immediately when he got there.
Right.
You have to. It's like when it's a little bit extreme. When Chip Kelly moved Jordan Matthews from the outside to the inside, he knew he could win on the outside.
Right.
It's just great coaching.
Yeah.
You gotta know what he is.
You have to have a plan. We always talk about this.
Right.
You take this player, you have to have a plan for him and try to execute it the best you can within the framework of your plan.
Yeah,
it may not always work.
We'll see what they do. They've been playing a lot. The change that they've made this year too, is they play a lot more at 12 personnel. That for years, as you guys know, the Rams were one of the highest percentage 11 personnel teams in the league. I go back 2-3 years, they were 90% 11 personnel. Some years they were over 90%. Now they're playing much more at a 12 personnel, which I don't know is a function, whether it's a function of the fact that they like their tight ends or if they don't feel like they have a really quality third wideout that they feel really comfortable with.
What are you on that? What are your thoughts on Jordan Whittington, who is basically their third receiver?
I did not get a chance to do him coming out of Texas. So I've seen him in the NFL.
Yeah.
I think he's a fluid kid. I wouldn't call him an explosive kid, but he's fluid. So they don't play him a ton. So, I don't know if they plan on using him more, although he did play, actually, he did last week.
Yeah, he did
play close to 40 snaps last week, but he hadn't played a ton, previously. We'll see. I mean, look, their third wide receiver really is a mixture of Whittington and Tutu Atwell, really, when you get right down to it.
Yep. Oh, Jeff, was it last year, Jeff, or another time? Because the Eagles have played them and they're 3-0 against them under Sirianni.
Uh-huh.
Was it a drop pass by Atwell? Was it last year?
He did. He had a drop in the end zone, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He could run, man.
Well,
he could run.
It's funny. I kind of like. They haven't really played the rookie Ferguson, the tight end from Oregon. He doesn't play very much through 2 games. That but I really like Davis Allen. I did like him coming out of Clemson. And while he's never going to be talked about as if he's a top 5 tight end in the league, he's got some movement to him. He's a pretty good player. He can run the seam. I mean, he's not just like one of your classic second tight ends that's just like a big guy and you throw him out there. He's got some movement to him and some receiving ability.
Yeah. Yeah. Greg, this is why I think Sean McVay is one of the best coaches. I mean, it's obvious his record says it, but you brought up a point that I thought was fantastic. A lot of coaches have they do what they do, and McVay has really adjusted. You talked about how he used to be 11 personnel.
Yep.
Now they're heavy 12. They also used to be a heavy outside zone team.
They're not.
You watch them now, and they're like the Eagles. They run inside zone. They'll go under center more, but they'll still run it inside.
They run more gap scheme too. I mean,
right.
Because it fits their backs.
Exactly. I was just about to say they're catering. They don't have explosive athletes who can get to the edge. So run it up the middle with Kyren Williams. And I wanted to ask you about this. It looks like Blake Corum
getting more
starting to integrate more. And when I watch it, he's got a little more juice and a little more power than Kyren Williams, I would say. Would you agree with that? I've watched 5 carries where he
and the other thing too is keep one thing in mind. Williams had 316 carries last year.
Yeah,
he's not a big man relative to what you think of guys who get that many carries.
Right.
And, at some point, and he's a really good football player, by the way, and they did sign him and they love him. I mean, he's just a really good football player. Yep. He catches, he blocks, he's a tough, physical, hard-nosed runner. But, I don't know how many years he can keep 316 carries, and they probably know that.
Yep.
They don't want him by week 8 to be worn out. And Corum is a similar style back in the context of their offense.
Yeah. Runs low to the ground. I mean, he's 5'8", but he's 210. And the runs I saw against the Titans, now granted, I guess they were up a little bit, so they decided to take some.
Yeah, but he showed something. Yeah,
he can carry some guy. I mean, he was like that at Michigan. He's not going to blow you away with speed.
He's not necessarily an explosive guy, but he's kind of similar to Williams.
Yeah. So that gives him a little bit of a 1-2 punch there. Matthew Stafford. Let's get a breakdown of what you've seen, because there were some people who thought he wasn't even going to start the year with that back. The way they're backing up on.
Look, there's no question. You can say this about any quarterback, but some it has more relevance than others. If you can protect Matthew Stafford, he's brilliant. Now, obviously, you have to protect him. He's not a guy that's going to make. Well, he's not immobile. He's certainly not a playmaker. But every once in a while, he gets out of the pocket and makes a throw. That's a wow throw. But he's certainly not a playmaker. So. You have to get people around him. You've got to be able to pressure because if you could, Tennessee last week and had no pass rush basically. And he just, as the game progressed and it became more and more evident that they were not going to get bodies around him, he ultimately just sat there and made throws. And as the game progressed, he just tore them apart. So you need to pressure him and make him feel uncomfortable. If he's comfortable, he still throws it. as good as anybody in the league. And as you guys know, and for some reason, when people talk about quarterbacks, they don't mention him. But if you talk to coaches in the league, he may be the most respected quarterback in the league when you talk to coaches.
Yeah.
No, and again, I'm not saying, oh, he's the best. We're not doing that. We're not, playing that game of lists. I'm just telling you what coaches say, that Matthew Stafford is so incredibly respected.
Yeah, I think, Adam, the most important players on the Eagles defense this week, and this will be a true test. They've played great so far, but Bourne, Campbell, and DeJean, the three guys in that second level, that interior where Stafford loves to be able to throw the ball, no look, thread the windows.
Arm
those
angle.
guys are, man, those guys are up for a real test this week.
Well, it's funny you say that. If they play zone, a lot of zone, you're dealing with three guys that are underneath defenders in zone.
Yep.
And, Stafford obviously has no problem throwing the ball in the middle of the field, throwing it between zones. I mean, he's a window guy. He doesn't, that's just the way he sees the game.
Right.
And those guys, that's a great point, Jeff. Those guys will become really important as underneath zone defenders, against Stafford. Because, it's funny. There was a play, it's in the matchup show this week because actually Darius Butler did a piece on the Rams this week. And there was a pass to Adams that ended up being, it ended up being against cover 2. And when I saw the play myself watching on Monday or Tuesday, I just kept rewatching it thinking, okay, who can take that play away? It ended up being cover 2. And so I asked Darius today, and he said, well, the underneath hook defender has to get a little more depth. He said, but that's just a weakness in the zone. And if the quarterback has time just to be in rhythm, that's a tough thing to defend.
Right.
And so it just struck me that, is all zones, we've talked about this so many times, all zones have voids.
Right.
The teams try to deal with the stress points that they know about, and the Eagles work very hard at that, I know for a fact. But you still can't take away every single void on every play.
One thing I want to ask you, Greg, about Matthew Stafford is because early in his career with Detroit, he got knocked a lot. He was at first pick overall. He should be better than he was. Now he's obviously great. What do you recall, just in general, of the growth from him? Because again, here's a guy that would frustrate coaches. I talked to some of them over the years, but then he turned out to be a star. Anything you can?
Yeah, I mean, again, I wasn't with him, so when you say frustrate coaches, I don't know what they specifically mean. But I thought that once his first 2 years in the league, he was injured, and people thought he was fragile, and he'd never play a lot. Sure. Remember?
Gotcha.
And then all of a sudden, he never missed a game until 1 year. I guess he only played 8 games. But other than that, the guy never misses a game. I always thought he was really good with Detroit. I mean, I'm not with him, so I don't know what coaches are seeing that they thought maybe he wasn't quite what he should be just because the talent level is off the charts.
Sure.
But I always thought even with Detroit, he was a really good player on teams that weren't very good. He had years he threw the ball so many times, and that's so hard to do.
Right, too much.
Yeah, it's way too much. And, and now, once he got to McVay, and obviously they won the Super Bowl the first year, and they've gotten to the playoffs. I mean, he's with a really well-schemed, balanced type offense, and he's super intelligent. It's funny. I met him once at an honors show. It was the Super Bowl in Indianapolis, because I remember that my wife was with me, and she came to the Super Bowl in Indianapolis. So I can't remember what year that was. But and so we actually were walking into the event together. And when I meet a guy like that, I don't want to just say, oh, gee, I like watching you. You're blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, can I ask you a question? And he goes, sure. And I mentioned a play because I remembered the play, And he immediately told me everything about the play, like he just did it 5 minutes before we walked in.
And it's amazing.
It was, and again, it was a 5-minute conversation. It's not like I know Matthew Stafford.
Now, did he say, hey, listen, buddy, you're a little weird. Why are you asking me this?
No. Well, it's funny. I did the same thing with Jameis Winston when he was with Tampa, and I met him at a Super Bowl event, and I started talking to him, and I mentioned a play, and these guys light up if you mention a play that they executed perfectly. Yeah, they light up. This is who they are. This is what they do.
Of course.
Yeah.
All right. It's time to wrap it up and do what we do best, predict the game score, the outcome, and the game's MVP. Before we do that, a last word from our great sponsors. Hey, Philly fans, game day is stressful enough. Parking, traffic, long lines. We've all been there. But when it comes to your cannabis, Camden Apothecary makes it easy. This is the dispensary for sports fans, just minutes outside of Philly with plenty of free parking. You'll be in and out fast, no hassle, no waiting. And they don't just care about convenience. Camden Apothecary is all about the guest experience. Their staff makes sure you feel taken care of every time you walk in. Plus, they carry only the best quality cannabis at the fairest prices. So whether you're stocking up for the tailgate, the watch party, or celebrating a big win, you know you're getting the good stuff without overpaying. They even show love to the community with specials for fans, students, service members, and healthcare pros. Camden Apothecary, top quality cannabis, great prices, and an experience made for Philly fans 21 and up. All right, fellas, it is time to make the predictions. You know what? I always either go to Greg or Adam. I'm going to go first. I'm doing it.
All right.
I got the Eagles winning. The Eagles, by the way, are favorites at home, I should mention. I believe last I saw it was 1.5. I don't know if the line has changed. Have you seen anything differently on that, Adam?
No. Sure.
Okay, just making sure. 1.5 point favorites is the last thing I saw. Oh, I'm sorry. It's 3.5. My fault. 3.5 point favorites at home over
3.5. Oh,
3.5.
3.5. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the Eagles are going to win and cover. I don't know if it's going to be pretty. I think there will probably still be some questions about their offense, but I see Barkley having a better game and at least one explosive run. Eagles 26, Rams 20, and I will say Dallas Goedert will be the game MVP.
Wow. Okay.
Your pick, Adam.
All right. Well, Eagles are overdue.
I hope he
for a
doesn't
loss.
say what I'm going to say because I'm feeling good about this one, Jeff, today.
Okay.
Well,
all right.
I'll do mine. Yes, the Eagles are overdue for a loss, but it's not going to happen. They're going to win this game 27-24. The weather's going to be great. I thought it was lower than that, the spread, but I don't care about that at this point. My player of the game is going to be Jalen Hurts. I told you earlier this week. People know on Patreon I said it. Another show I said it. He's going to feel it this game. What a great press conference he had this week. I don't usually listen to him or any other player during the week. I'd heard Al said it in our Patreon chat. I made sure I watched. He was phenomenal. That's not why I'm picking him, but good for him to own up to it. But we say this. Sometimes they're not right. We say Jalen's going to feel it. Greg had one of those last year, and I got it right. I'm feeling that Hurts is going to get it. He's going to feel it in this game. He's not going to – 2 touchdowns, 225, 2 in the air, his first 2 this season. There you go.
All right, so 27-24. Not a cover, but a win and a Jalen Hurts game MVP. Greg, finish it off. What do we got?
All right, I'm believe the Eagles' run game is going to get back on track this week. So I'm going to pick Barkley as my player of the game, and I'm right there with you in score-wise. I was going to pick 27-23 Eagles.
Okay.
So that's
good.
I think it's going to be a close game. I mean, I think the Rams could easily win the game, but I just think that this is the week that Barkley is going to break out. I'm a little concerned just about the size difference with that O-line, and that's how I see this game.
Good.
All right, and that is going to do it. That is a great wrap-up, thorough. X's and O's, scalpel, forceps, and all that. That's going to do it for the Inside the Birds pregame show. For Greg Cosell and Adam Caplan, I'm Geoff Mosher. Everybody enjoy your football watching. Catch you on the next one.